Jack walked back to his apartment. When he got there, he shut the door behind him and moved a chair in front of it, went to the window, and peered out the curtains. Once he was convinced that he wasn't followed, he walked to the bathroom, put his hands on the side of the sink, leaned forward and examined his face in the mirror intently. He took 3 deep breaths and slowly and steadily said aloud, "I am not insane." Without looking away, he reached for his anti-anxiety meds, poured out 4 in his hand, and popped them in his mouth, swallowing them without water. Jack then went to sit down and tried to calm down. Whenever his mind popped up with a hypothesis of what was going on, he focused on his breath. This was an old technique taught in many of his rehabilitation classes, but Jack had started this way before he was in trouble with the law. Jack's slow breathing trick went back to his childhood, dealing with the realities of the situations. As those situations popped in his head, he again focused on quieting his mind. He wasn't hearing anything strange or noticing any more coincidences, but he still felt as if the air was thick and heavy. The room seemed off-kilter. He walked to the window and pulled back the curtains. He saw nothing unusual. He opened the window and a gentle, cool night breeze came in. He sat on the side of his bed. He felt aware of the whole room. He could feel the breeze come in and break against his bare arm. For a split second, his perception shifted to his arm, and he felt like he was standing right on it, right on his arm, as if he was standing in a forest of hair. The breeze blew in between the trees, making them sway and creak as they shifted. All this lasted but a second, and he was back, sitting on the edge of the bed. He saw a small spider crawling across his bedside table. What is happening, he thought. The room started spinning. Jack felt he took too much medication, and it was making him ill. His head was heavy, and so he laid it down on the pillow. He didn't have the energy to kill the spider, so he just stared at it. It stood on the edge of the table. Jack's eyelids were heavy. Just before he faded out to a drug-induced sleep, he saw the spider trembling. It looked like it was going into convulsions. With his last bit of willpower, Jack focused on the spider. He was almost positive that it was doing the Charleston. Jack awoke the next morning in a very groggy state. He looked around him. No spider. No strange feeling in the air. A normal, brisk morning. He woke himself and showered. No work today. Today, he was meeting with his parole officer. Today, he would get to the bottom of this. He walked outside and stopped at a corner shop for some coffee. He wanted to be alert as he could at this meeting. After all, he had a lot of questions. It was about 10 in the morning when he walked up the stairs to his parole officer's office. He walked up to the receptionist. "I'm here to see..." Jack paused. He was not about to refer to this man as the one, but before he had a chance to finish, the receptionist piped up. "He's not here," she said. "I can wait," said Jack, and he sat down heavily and intently on a chair. "You don't understand," she said. "He took an extra day on his fishing trip. He should be back tomorrow. How about I reschedule you, around 4? Jack stood up and looked at her suspiciously. He said nothing and walked out of the office back down the stairs. Every step he took down the stairs, he seemed to feel heavier, as if the feeling from yesterday was coming on. By the time he opened the door to the street, he felt like 1,000 pounds. The outside air hit him like a concrete block. Everything was off-kilter again. At that moment, Jack felt a deep hole of despair in his core. He couldn't endure another day of this. Jack was coming to the end of his rope. Just then, a black town car with tinted windows rolled slowly by. As it passed, Jack read the license plate. The One. It stopped at the end of the block, and Jack started walking towards it. As he stepped off the curb onto the street, the car sped out and disappeared around the corner. As heavy as Jack felt, he started sprinting after the car. When he turned the corner, there was no car to be seen. Jack scanned the street. He saw a one-way street sign that looked peculiar to him. As he got close to it, he saw it had been tagged in small print with 2 words, "The" and "This." Jack ran in the direction of the arrow. What am I doing, he thought. This is crazy. What am I looking for? Why am I following these signs? Out of breath, he stopped in the middle of the street. I must be crazy, Jack said aloud. He saw a mailman on his route. He saw an old couple walking down the street holding hands. And he saw a little girl getting out a saucer for a cat on the sidewalk. A white cat with black paws and a black stripe down its side. A vertical black stripe. A stripe that looked like the number. Jack ran towards the girl and the cat. The feline looked up in alarm and then ran away. "Hey," said the girl, but Jack ran past, stepping on the saucer as he went. Jack didn't stop. He heard the sobs of the girl behind him, but he didn't dare lose sight of the cat. He darted into the yard, between houses. Jack jumped the fence and followed it through a backyard and out to an alley to the protest of a man watering his yard. Down the alley the cat went and around the corner, out of sight. Jack was sure the cat lost him as he turned the corner, but there it was, across the street, running up the stairs and into an open church door. With little left in the tank, Jack pumped his legs up the stairs and burst into the church doors. He was halfway up the aisle when he finally stopped to look at his surroundings. He was in the middle of a sea of hooded white robes. The monks all faced forward, heads bowed, chanting. Jack saw light out of his periphery coming from the altar, and he turned towards the front of the church. He couldn't believe his eyes. There, 10 feet tall, stood a luminous figure, a towering being of shining light. Jack fell to his knees, his mouth hung open. He tried to breathe, but he nearly forgot how. He was paralyzed with fear and amazement. Was this a god? A man? Some sort of alien being? Jack felt an emotion well up from deep inside him. It filled his belly, his chest, his legs and arms, right up to his throat and out his face. His body started to tingle. Almost on their own accord, his arms raised up, and he opened them to the figure. And just when he couldn't be silent any longer, he spoke up. "Are you the one?"